Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 492 for Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. My name is Russell Frost, and I am your host for this week's adventure into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. And please, along with me, look at this amazing cast that I have personally scoured the globe to assemble for tonight's show.
You scare, okay.
What? I shouldn't be taking credit for
I'm
that.
just
You guys
saying,
got here on your own.
It's just weird when the mania takes hold. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of hype, man. A lot of hype.
All of North America.
A lot of hype going on.
I'm a hype guy from way back. So
That is
anyway,
true.
look at these mediocre assholes who
There
are
you
wasting
go.
an hour of their life to be with me. Okay, and all of you out there.
That sounds more normal.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Russell.
Thank you. Hi. Well, she's as always called me out. She is a voice actor, director, writer, and my favorite co-host, Georgia McKenzie.
Tony, he's lying. He misses you. Hey, everybody. Thank you for showing up with us tonight.
And yay! Next up, looks like he's in his car sales office today, not in the shop. He is the owner and founder of Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Grusick.
Glad to be back, and we still got a little bit of daylight here, so let's get the show on the road.
I'm jealous of that daylight.
Daylight in the window, yeah, it's kind of strange. Next up, he is our man somewhere in the Atlantic region, but he is always, no matter where he is, Mr. Supercharger, Kacey Green.
Hey, Elon was messing with my supercharger setting yesterday, so I pushed it back. I said, "This is my free supercharging, not yours."
Did you plead with him for mercy on Twitter?
No.
Oh, I thought, isn't that like the normal procedure? Like you go to Twitter to plead with Elon for something? Nah.
Why would
Fair
you
enough.
talk to him? Anyway.
Right.
I got nothing. And last and certainly not least, he is the founder of the Tesla Life and the host and founder, maybe co-founder, I don't know. He had something to do with the beginning of the Waterloo Regional Electric Vehicle Association, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, and let's get to it. Got a lot to go.
Let's get to it. And as I like to start off being all ranty and stuff, this week, I want to talk about privileged drivers. Did we, I know that, it used to be like the thing that you made fun of BMW owners because they didn't know how to use turn signals or they were too good to use turn signals or whatever. Like that's been a joke forever. And I get that, but when did all of a sudden, if you buy, let's say a 50K plus car, you can just do it. You can go through red lights. You can make left-hand turns from the right-hand lane. You can do whatever you want. When did that become true?
Well, around here they're doing it in little beat up mobiles too, so it doesn't matter what they're doing it in. It's the entitled assholeness, period.
And Kacey, I think you bring up an excellent point. There are entitled assholes at all income levels.
Yeah.
But I want to be clear, at least maybe it's because, again, I'm in San Diego County. It's not typical of anything but San Diego County. It seems like the real flagrant violators tend to be in nicer cars.
Oh, yeah.
Rich, you can't touch me, or something.
I don't know. I saw a dude today in the rain cut off a cop and then speed like at least 20 over the speed limit on the freeway today. I'm sorry, not a cop, a highway patrol officer.
Nice.
Tell me that didn't end up well.
Right?
Let's just say the CHP officer did not react in any noticeable way. No one got pulled over. No lights were illuminated.
Why?
I got nervous today because my car was surfing a cop. The cop was going to a robbery or something. Like the light, it was following him, and then it turned on the lights, and then the car was like on his bumper, just following him through the traffic. I'm like, yes, that's an open lane, but that's
You're not the way supposed to follow emergency vehicles like that. No.
Not unless he said, "Come on, we're going to the hospital," and then like follow me. But that's not what happened. The car's like, "Oh, free lane of traffic. I'm going." I'm like, "You must have learned to drive in California." And it
Hey,
did.
hey.
I'm
Not
from
that you're
California.
Wow, slagging on us.
Not that you're wrong, Casey, but that's it. So that's all I got. I just, like, honestly, I whatever.
I've typically noticed that anybody with a higher priced car just never uses the turn signals. That seems to be a universal thing.
And maybe they tell them when they buy the car that you don't have to signal; the car will do it for you.
It's not FSD. It's full self turn signaling or something. I have no idea.
I think it's FSAD. Full
FSAD
selfish asshole driving.
could be.
Or full self douchebag.
Full self douchebag.
I like that. It keeps the FSD intact.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I also want to announce at the top of the show. Sorry, tomorrow, Ed Niedermeyer and I. If you're a big Ed Niedermeyer fan, do check out tomorrow night. There will be a new show up with Ed and I, just chatting it up like we do. So let's go to our first story. Kacey Green has something for us on one of my very favorite San Diego automakers.
Yes. So a long time ago, we had the Aptera folks here on the show.
We did.
And I don't know if they said it on the show or if they said it in chats with me in public on like Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But I was questioning. I said, I liked my Model S and Model X, how they had auto steer and navigate on autopilot. And I asked them if they would have something similar because I like it. And it's made me not just really lazy, but also I like having that wingman. Like it's watching for people, in its way. And I'm watching for making sure the car doesn't do anything stupid and for anything that it might not catch. And a couple times I was without it. Like either I was in a rental truck or when my Model S was in the body shop from getting rammed repeatedly by a semi truck, and I didn't feel as safe in another. I think one was a BMW and the other was a large Ford, and it was like it was like somebody blinded. Well, not just literally because they had bigger blind spots, but like literally somebody took one of my mirrors away, and I didn't like driving them. So I said, hey, is Aptera going to have at least auto steer and the awareness? And they said yes. And I was like, okay. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they said yes. So they're planning on it from now. Turns out they decided they were going to integrate OpenPilot, which came from Comma AI, into the vehicle. So this will be the first OEM to actually have all the hooks and all the hardware for Comma AI, OpenAI, to do its thing. So right now you can get it as a aftermarket add-in module. You plug it into the compatible car, into the camera system and the control port, and it'll do its thing. And it's got its own camera and it's got driver monitoring, and it's every bit as good as, from what I can see, as at least AP1 and some change. And now they've got that on the Aptera built in. So I was excited to see that, and I wanted to share it with everybody else. They have a quick video on it on their channel, and that was the news. So I wanted to bring it to share with you guys because I thought it was cool.
Is there a link to that in the Inside EV story, Casey?
I don't think so, but what I'll do is I'll go to their site and I'll get the video that they put.
If Casey sends me a link, I'll post that in the show notes. That'd be great.
And for those who don't know, OpenPilot is an aftermarket open source system that's compatible with dozens of cars out there. So you could buy a vanilla RAV4 from Toyota, a late model, and bolt on OpenPilot to it and have some self-driving capabilities and safety features. So
kind of neat. Video. I've got it right here in the private chat if you want to share it or not. Take a look.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
And that makes sense for Aptera because they don't have the engineering staff to build something from zero.
Right.
But OpenPilot is developed by the open source community like Linux and other things. And
right. And they contribute back. So it's not like,
and it's customizable. So
exactly.
You can tweak it. You can roll your own features. You can enhance it and share it with the world. It's a pretty neat concept.
Yeah, and it goes well with their right to repair, their open source, and I imagine they'll be probably better than Tesla at actually fulfilling their obligation to give back to the community for their open sourceness. Like
Right.
Green the Only is constantly
And
saying
it's
how many
very
days late
configurable.
Tesla is.
I mean, it's very configurable. You could make your own valet features and stuff. So makes sense for them.
Very cool. Is this the first company that's announced an open a comma AI partnership?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes,
A lot of the other folks
that's-
use Dan O'Dowd's company.
yeah, the manufacturing level, not like a do-it-yourself hacker tinkerer kind of thing.
Right, exactly. So yes, I just now put that link in the show notes. You can watch it there. Just go to youtube.com/what drives us and click on Kacey's story or look in the show and comments and you'll see a YouTube link. So thank you very much for that, Kacey.
The other benefit to this coming from the factory this way is if you aren't, if you're not afraid of tinkering, but if you don't want to necessarily tinker right away, because they're a manufacturer, they're going to want to put something in the box that works at some level. So you won't have to, like, it's the same thing as buying a Linux computer or Chromebook from the store versus getting all your parts and screen and battery and putting together a laptop and then compiling your own Linux and putting it on there. You know, if you buy the one from the store, it just works. But if you wanted to change anything, you totally can.
Right. And
We're putting Georgia to
be able to
sleep.
go to a shop like ours or Best Buy or something and have this added to your traditional car if you want.
I mean, at some point, right? High school car hackers are going to be able to buy something like this and put it on whatever it is they happen to be driving.
It'd be like
They do today if your car has the right inputs.
The vehicle version of making your own gaming PC and souping it up, you know.
Okay, my only caveat is that if your PC crashes and burns because you got something wrong, it's only your PC
Well,
crashing.
your
and
car
burning.
will crash and burn.
Hopefully not on the streets, but yeah, you are right about that because especially since it's Linux. I mean, hell, I worked in Linux. It's going to be done, but test those things first.
Yeah.
I could see great things happening with the open source nature of this and being able to put together your own modular system. But remember, test it, baby, test it. Not everything is ready for the road.
Also, remember that you are still the driver. This is still just a driver assist tool. It's not, and definitely because it's open source, they're definitely not taking any liability like Mercedes and Honda do in that 34 miles an hour, but traffic jammed and only on these select roads. Not even that. So it's not claiming to be as capable as FSD beta is.
No,
it's just an assist to take some of the fatigue off of your drudgery of your commute.
Yes.
Well, on the comma website says their first feature is makes driving chill. So,
and isn't that really what we all want?
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I guess maybe not.
Maybe it will have auto turn signals.
Maybe.
It,
I don't see why that's not a thing right now. Like you're changing
appear to
lanes
be
over the
turning.
line.
Would you like to
It should be.
signal?
Yeah.
I'm
That should be
sorry.
standard.
I just go to Clippy as my default right away when it comes to like bad tech issues. So
It looks like you're trying to turn.
yeah. Let's go to Mark and find out, is it really true? Do you just throw away all old EV batteries, or there's an enormous mountain of toxic EV batteries being wasted, or is there something else that can happen?
You would think so, based on some of the media reports that come out about electric cars. This CNBC video that we've linked in the show notes is probably a good introduction as to what happens with EV batteries after their lives have been spent. It goes into some detail with some recyclers that take these EV batteries and do one of three things. First, they're all tested. Secondly, they will look and see whether this battery needs a repair of a module or a group of batteries. Third, so there's three things they do. They test them all. determine whether or not there's a fault or a problem with the existing pack. If it can be repurposed into another system. And the final thing they will do, if it will not, it cannot be repaired, it cannot be repurposed, is they will recycle it. So that involves basically grinding the pack down into powder and separating the different components of that battery pack, so it can be reused into the creation of new battery packs. So what this does is, of course, the two first options of repurposing it or fixing it and repairing it, those two are the most common. You probably get somewhere between 70 and 80% of packs fall into those two categories. Okay, the last 20 to 30% may fall into the recycling. So they obviously want to repurpose and fix over recycling, because the packs, of course, are worth more if they can get them out to the public or to rebuilders of kit cars, or being placed into, say, a centralized storage system, or possibly even going back into another vehicle that has a spent pack. So that is what all these guys are interested in doing. Mostly 80% of them want to push the packs into that direction. They interview a couple of different of these recyclers, and it's kind of interesting that one of the recyclers that has been in the game since 2020, they outline that they get, at this point, with 3 different facilities across the country, they get somewhere between 50 and 100 packs per month at this point. And that is another kind of key testament as to batteries, because at this point, there's not all that many batteries that are being recycled because they're still in use. So many of them are still in cars after 10 or plus years that it is something that that they know, of course, batteries are going to increase, and there's more and more EVs going into production. In fact, the International Energy Agency, they speculate that there will be over 300 million electric vehicles on the world's roads by 2030. But at this point in the game, since we're just ramping up, there's not a lot that are being put back, being sent in for recycling, because those cars are basically ones that have maybe been in an accident, or there has been a problem with the vehicle and it's been scrapped. But we are at a point now where some of the Gen 2 cars back in, I guess 2012, that era, some of those are now starting to come off the road. So EVs with battery packs of the lithium ion generation basically are only about 10 years old at this point. Okay, so we've got, they're starting to come up, and it's good to see that some of these recyclers are already involved with it. They're getting their process down. They're understanding what can be done with them. They're finding markets for these batteries that are going to be repurposed, and they're getting that supply chain ready. So when next year comes and the next 5 years come, the flood of EVs ramped up and selling are going to start moving down that chain and start to retire. These battery recyclers are going to be ready for it. So I don't know how many times that someone had said, well, it's all fine and dandy to have an electric car, but is it all that good to be putting those battery packs into a landfill after their useful life? And it's like, no, that is not happening.
Right.
These vehicles are being repaired, recycled, or they're being repurposed. So it's something that is going to allow these battery packs to go on to a second life. Or ultimately, if the second life can't be used for them or they can't be repaired, then they're going to be ground up for the different minerals that are in every pack, divided into separate groups, and then those packs of powder are going to be sold back to the battery manufacturers because they can actually be repurposed instead of mined. It can be brought right back from the old packs, put in a new packs, charged up again, and you've got yourself another run of an EV battery. So,
yeah. Well, two of the things that stood out to me in that report or that interview were one where the guy pointed out that it's to the point already where they will pay you to take the pack. I've always been saying it's valuable, but a lot of times in recycling, if there's enough volume or anything, you'll have to pay them to haul it away because it's heavy, the shipping, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, he pointed out that he and his competitors, there are too many of them for the volume today. Obviously, like Mark was saying, they're going to get ready. And so for all the people saying, oh, well, yeah, you can point to Redwood or you can point to so-and-so, and that's just PR. Well, not really. They're all fighting over the supply that exists to do the recycling. And then Georgia and I both brought you projects over the past few weeks. I showed you one where they're using Nissan Leaf and one other model to make peaker plant replacements from the used batteries. And then Georgia had something similar, and that was phenomenal, like to show that they didn't even bother trying to recycle them because they were good enough to have a second life.
Yeah, I will make one correction. It was 50 to 100 packs a day are currently being recycled, not per month. So again, that's a fair amount, but with the thousands of vehicles that are on the roads currently, and as they say, 300,000 expected within the next 7 years, that number is going to grow significantly. This particular company they interviewed here are also ones that they deal with basically all the other manufacturers outside of Tesla. And actually, the interviewer asked, "Well, how come you don't do Tesla?" And he said, "Well, Tesla kind of likes to do things themselves." So
he also said
that's how it was left.
He didn't like the way they paid.
Kind of like to.
So this is a great little 13-minute watch if you want to do that, and it kind of goes over the different aspects of this. I know that we've heard of other recyclers that are out there already, some national ones as well. Even ones, there's a couple of brands here in Canada that are operating already. So it just makes sense as these batteries are starting to come out of life cycle, maybe 10 to 15 years down the line. It just makes sense that if you can repurpose them or fix them, and ultimately, if that doesn't work, recycle them, that is going to be a huge gain for those that are seeking the materials to make new batteries, which seems to be everly increasing. So there's all sorts of different companies, manufacturers that are looking for these type of minerals. And if they can get them from a recycler that already has them bagged into separate components ready to go, they're going to have no problem selling them. And in fact, the price is probably just going to go up for these recycled materials.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the geopolitical issues of those minerals, which the article briefly touches on, but it's been something that not a lot of attention has been paid to over the past few years, but definitely I've been hearing about stuff like this going back for at least the past 5-6 years, particularly China and the inroads it's made into Africa, where a lot of what we use for these batteries are, and the way how it's been basically doing its own version of a WPA projects in African countries and developing ties there because of the mineral needs for these kinds of things. So it's going to be even more important geopolitically to recycle batteries.
Paul. Hello, Paul.
Yeah. No, I
Leave Paul alone.
As Mark said, these batteries are not ending up in landfill. I have people coming around trying to buy them from me, spent batteries from hybrids and EVs. A lot of them are just sitting on them right now until it is cost effective to recycle them. Some of them are bundling them up into containers and shipping them to these big companies. So it's happening, and they pay me money to take them. They don't just, show up and take them. So there is a market and a perceived market. And over time, companies are going to figure out how to repurpose them, just like aluminum cans and lead acid batteries. So
I've been to Paul's shop. He has, it appeared to be hundreds of batteries. battery
Sometimes.
packs.
until I sell them to buyers.
Yeah.
See now the funny thing is that I've been looking at solar, and I was looking at a project that was a DIY solar bank that requires batteries. Oh, buddy, pal, friend.
Well, and then the manufacturers, like if I buy a battery from Toyota for a Prius, I have to give them a core back for them to recycle, or else they charge me an extra $1,300. So
Ouch.
you can bet that they're getting a spent battery back for every new one they sell, and then they sell them to one of these recyclers and make sure they get properly recycled. You don't have to give them a battery. You can pay the deposit of $1,300 and eat it, but I don't think anybody does that. So Toyota at least is making an effort to make sure all their old batteries get properly recycled by putting a hefty deposit on, which I think is a great idea.
Absolutely. Well, Kacey, thank you for that. Mark?
No,
Paul?
it was Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, thank you, Kacey.
I give you another story. You're welcome.
Nothing for you, Kacey.
You're bad.
And
Thank you, Mark.
One more thing on that.
Yeah, please.
Regular auto recyclers, aka junkyards, they don't have any hybrid batteries in the car by the time the car gets out to the yard, especially like these pick and pull places where you self-serve, take the parts off the car. There's no hybrid batteries in the vehicle. There's no catalytic converters. All the high value recyclable stuff they take off the car before it goes into the yard. So
high value.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't
spent
junk
hybrid
that
battery.
people are throwing away.
No way. Even the lead acid batteries they pull out of the cars before they put them in the yard.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for that, Mark. Let's go from revitalizing old batteries to a whole new type of battery. Georgia, what? It's not Lion?
It's kind of funny because it seems like we have a lot of battery stories today. Some kind of bat signal went up. Talk about batteries. Guess what? There's a new battery in town, and it is not Lion. It is not a lithium-ion battery. It is an oxygen-ion battery. That's right. It is the oxyon. It will never be the coolness that is a Lion, so we're just going to call it an oxygen ion. But this is the team from Vienna University of Technology in Austria, and they have a brand new invention, the oxygen ion battery. And works about the same way as a lithium-ion battery, but there's a lot of cool things because we were just talking about recycling Li-ion batteries, and in particular, how long can it hold a charge? Can it hold a new charge so it can be made into a functioning battery again? Well, what if we had a material that could always be infinitely recharged? Now, to me, anything that says infinite is pretty much hyped. We don't know. We just might not be around to see the last charge, but that counts for us as infinite. But the point is that a ceramic oxygen ion battery can probably be nearly infinitely recharged. Isn't that kind of cool?
Infinitely.
They don't require mining, so hey, we can stop strip mining things and maybe destructive mining practices in poorer countries because we're using ceramic oxygen ion batteries instead. They are completely flame resistant, so unlike certain early phone batteries, they don't blow up in your hands. But there is a caveat. They get a little hot. And when I say they get a little hot, they can go anywhere from 200 to 400 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to suggest that perhaps the university researchers need to come up with a way of doing solar cooking and powering a car or whatever it is with these
Or
batteries.
use them in Norway to heat the car as well.
That's right. Heat the car. That is going to be a toasty ass warm car. I'm going to tell you that. But they can't hold the same energy density, so they're not as efficient. They get hot, super hot. But their benefits would be like they can power something big like a building powering a cell phone, maybe if you wanted a cell phone with a laser inside, you could use the ceramic oxygen ion battery. And if
And
you're
warmer.
able to develop a ceramic oxygen ion battery that can also shoot freaking lasers out, please give me one. I really would like to have a cell phone with laser sighting capabilities for pacifistic reasons, I'm sure.
Mhm. Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely trustworthy with some kind of flame-throwing phone here. But that's what you could do with it. And it would be long service life. You would produce large quantities of materials without using rare elements and no fire hazard. So this could work in a way to free us of some destructive practices that we often don't think about when we're talking about EVs and about batteries and about, power storage and stuff like that. And especially since America is trying very hard to develop an energy policy that will put us on green, renewable energy, store the vast amount of solar power that lands on our soil and goes away by nightfall because we don't have a way to capture it and store it and use it. Might be something to keep an eye on. So that's the oxygen ion battery. Congratulations to, well, I bet you the name is prettier, the Vienna University of Technology in Austria. I thought it was a pretty cool development, but we'll see. I would say that at 200 to 400 degrees, it's either going to make it not usable in car form. Paul, can you confirm that? Because it's either going to require a hell of a coolant system.
No.
Or maybe we only run it in cold places. So maybe the EV for Antarctica, that's the battery
Or on
pack
the
we'll
dark
use
side
over
of the
there.
moon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
space travel. We can put that in there. But it's
There's-
nice.
What about a link with a food truck? Then you got yourself a cooking
Yeah.
surface.
That's
Way
right.
to go.
French fries.
That's right. Ceramic cooker and battery for your truck. I like it. Mark, that's the kind of forward thinking that gets us places or gets us blown up. One or the other.
It's easy to and none of us are doing this, but I mean, it's easy to make fun of this and go, oh, who needs a battery that's 400 degrees? The point is that somebody might, and the
It is
diversity,
fireproof.
It is fine.
different,
The battery
Yeah.
will survive fine.
these different battery technologies will definitely at some point find their own little niche, or they'll just disappear. But we don't need all batteries to be exactly the same to be good. It doesn't all have to look like a AA. It doesn't
Right.
all have to be fine at room temperature.
Or
Again,
hybrid the technology. It's like, hey, this one only goes up to 90 C, but it has all the benefits from these other technologies. Or like we discovered with the hydrogen, if you're using hydrogen to make fire, basically to melt metal, it's pretty efficient versus trying to put it in a personal car and run it around the country.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, yeah. Hey, these may never be in cars or phones or laptops, but that's okay. There's lots of other places where electrification will benefit us. So let's do that. Let's go to our next story. We have a story from Paul about exciting. Oh no, I don't, you know what? I don't have a funny one for this, Paul. I'm sorry. Paul's got a great story about renewables.
Yeah. So the summary is last year was peak coal for electricity generation, and renewables actually surpassed coal in 2022, and it looks even better for this year and future years. And it's all about the dollar, of course. It's not about people trying to do the right thing, but it's actually cheaper to make electricity with wind and solar than with coal in many parts of the country. And the utilities are ramping up their wind farms and their solar farms. Some of the statistics, California produced 26% of the solar electricity utility level in the country, Texas at 16%, North Carolina with 8%. And then on the wind farms, This was surprising to me. I didn't realize Texas was the leader in wind. 26% of the U.S. wind energy is in Texas. Iowa, 10%. Who would have thought that? And Oklahoma, 9%. And then coal is diminishing. Natural gas actually went up a slight bit. I guess some of the utilities are going at least from coal to natural gas, which is better than coal to coal, and so on and so forth. So as we've talked about before, every year the grid gets cleaner. So if you buy an electric car, every year your car is getting cleaner, and it's all a good thing.
It's
Yeah,
very good.
that's fantastic. That as mentioned, it is the grid will get cleaner just because of economics, as Paul
Yep.
mentioned.
So solar
It's cheaper. It's
wind's
cheaper
getting-
than any other device to have. So instead of a peaker plant, putting up a wind turbine just makes more financial sense, and that's just going to drive more people to it. And as Paul mentioned, every month that goes by, people are passing up coal because it's just not economically feasible. And of course, that's going to cut the emissions that we're getting inside of the country by that much every month. A new coal is not chosen, a gasoline peaker plant is not chosen, and they choose solar or wind. And that just gives us a better average of green energy across the country. And that average just keeps going up.
There's actually behind my repair shop, there's a railroad line that used to bring 100-car coal trains to the electric plant that's about half a mile from my shop. And a few years ago they decommissioned the coal and they switched to natural gas, so the coal trains have stopped running. It will be nice when they decommission the whole plant and use wind farm or solar, but we'll take coal to natural gas initially. But again, the numbers don't lie. At some point, the utility bean counters are going to go, oh, if we build this wind farm or the solar farm, it's cheaper than natural gas. So why are we doing natural gas?
Yeah.
Subsidies. But,
Right.
I mean, it's great news. And I, for one, am not surprised to see Texas up there with wind, because you could not find a greater source of hot air in the Texas state
I was
legislature.
waiting for that.
Are all the wind turbines, Paul, inside offices, government offices? Is that
Pretty
what it's set
much, I'm sure. And but yeah, the subsidies make it far more worthwhile, at least in the propaganda war, to keep talking it up. But no, they know better. They know better. And one of the things people have often said about individual actions is that it doesn't matter unless it's a mass movement and government regulation. And I think, honestly, this actually shows the strength of individual actions. You have not mentioned a ton load of states there that are positive on renewable energy and EVs, and, or even recognizing the issue of climate change. And yet, where it came to money and doing small things and doing the simple act of capitalistic demand for some green energy sources, or just, hey, it's what people want and it's greener and cheaper, you still have these changes. So don't turn up your nose at doing just making your own individual choice for a greener energy source and putting that demand into a corporation's inbox to say, hey, this is what I want. I'm willing to pay you for it if you do it, and it looks good for you, and watch the change happen. It was slow, but it did happen.
And some of it is consumer driven. Where we are in Colorado, Excel is our utility. They have a program called WindSource, where right now you have to pay a little bit extra, but they guarantee if you sign up for WindSource that they'll buy enough wind turbines to serve those customers. So the consumer is saying, hey, I'd rather pay an extra 5% or 10% per month to know that my power is not coming from coal or natural gas. Now, of course, we're hoping at some point it will be cheaper for the utility just to do a wind, and they'll do it on, just like the old days when touch tones on phones came out. AT&T charged you extra for touch tone service, even though it was cheaper for them to deliver that than rotary dial tone service.
Classic AT&T.
And then some engineers pointed that out, and they actually got that charge deleted off of everybody's account. But,
Nice.
But in the
Because
meantime,
eventually
AT&T made millions.
oh yeah,
Right, and then eventually they ended up like, hey, we need that analog signal back. Where if you have a rotary dial, just pick up the phone and wait, and the operator will dial it for you.
yeah.
Nice.
And that's gone too now because it's all digital.
I think a rotary phone would still work on a regular old analog line if you had one. But no
Most
one
cities,
has.
it's copper to the house, but fiber elsewhere. So I don't know where it would still work.
No clue. I have no clue. Well, let's go to our final story for the evening. Georgia has some another story in Georgia. Is this a happy story? Yay!
We actually have two. We're closing on two happy-go-lucky stories of the right thing being done, even in places where you wouldn't expect it. And thankfully, in countries that we need to have the right thing happen, because hey, in America, we need to do it. We are a very large nation with a very large population. And hello, India, you are a very large nation with a very large population. I'm not going to say anything about Modi because if you know, you know. And let's see, but India doing great there, adding in power generation capacity with renewables, clean and green energy. Solar and wind are 92% of the power generation capacity added to India in 2022. In other words, they have also chosen not to go the route of let's go with some coal, let's burn some oil. They're doing great. It is 92% of what they added in capacity. They have added an additional 13.9 gigawatts of solar capacity in 1 year. And they just their two largest territories, Rajasthan and Gujarat, 33% share of renewable capacity targets for 2030 out of India's national target. So growth worldwide. This is a positive. This is actually something that we can clap our hands together and say thank you. I mean, it kind of sucks that coal is still in there. Coal is kind of third in the energy that they brought up in their chart. But considering where we've come from, I think that the fact is that instead it's dwindling, it's dropping, and soon it'll be small enough to be fitting in that category of other. Maybe we'll see some water projects, some offshore wind. We're probably going to see more wind because we have some great areas for wind in India. But hey, this is awesome stuff. And I'm excited to see it because one of the issues with every growing democracy worldwide is no snort. Is a need for power. Being able, we lost power in my house last week twice. That was fun. And
No, it wasn't.
well, it really made me respect and admire people who've been dealing with sketchy power, people who've been living with no power, because I could do everything it is I wanted during the daylight, except, I don't know, work in my home. I couldn't even vacuum. What the hell, man? What is this? Sweeping? What do I look like? Mr. Hooper? Come on. But there we are, trying to figure out how to clean a house with no power. And at night, it became, wow, isn't it amazing that I'm weird enough that I put all these motion censored lights that are battery powered in my house, and in addition to rechargeable LED lights that have no power dependencies in certain areas of the house. You just have to know how to turn them on. But yeah, I pretty much had light, but I was one of the few that didn't have to rely on candles all night. I definitely respect power more having gone through that. And I have to say that how we power society is going to have far greater impact than just whether or not somebody has a fridge or is able to watch a TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a necessity. So the more renewables we can add, especially to places that have very, very high populations, the better. So way to go, India.
Uh-oh.
Let it go.
Go ahead, pick his nose.
No,
Oh,
do not
that's a
pick.
bad
Don't
habit.
pick Daddy's nose on camera.
Uh-oh, somebody's gonna get whacked with some headphones here. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what trope to avoid here. We hear a lot of talk about how we can't do such and such because, well, what about China? What about India? They're just going to do whatever they want. They're just horrible.
But they're
just going to
moving faster than we are.
exactly. And that's the nice thing about it. It's like just rub our nose in the fact that here's India and they've got their own full set of issues, but they can still have time, energy, and money to focus on this. And
Well,
that's
here's the problem. It is very easy to manipulate Americans into doing things that are counterproductive for America just by exacerbating our ancient tensions of race and gender. We don't deal with it. We don't. Some of you, those of you who follow me on Twitter, know I have already said this week, but a large portion of what we're seeing right now in conservatism and the way how people have cottoned to it in an almost terrifying glee is we have a lot of people who are upset at the concept that the bad things were done. It makes them feel bad. And therefore, but knowing about it is important so we don't do them again. But the problem is that it makes them feel bad and they don't want to feel bad. And they want to be able to keep doing bad things, but not have to feel bad about it. This is a weird shame spiral, and it was very easy. There's more than enough proofs that have shown that these tensions were manipulated not just by Russia, but actually by a number of other foreign governments. And yes, one of the things they do, they strike on literally everything they possibly can, and that includes denigrating green energy while within their own countries. They promote the technology. They actively seek out partnerships, even with American companies. They tell them manufacture the stuff over there. We've got the labor force. We've got an educated labor force, and we're willing to invest in you and give you all these breaks. And it's been remarkably easy. It's shocking how easy it is to do. So we've missed a lot of boats. Going back to Carter's time and the first solar panels on the White House, we missed a lot of boats because culture wars are easy ways to succeed in gaining power. And I do apologize. Russell is going to make some noises at this, but I'm not old enough to really remember anything that happened back in Carter's time. I vaguely recall seeing on the TV and thinking, why is this very deluded old person on the TV? Oh, that's very silly. He does not say anything sensible. I'm sure adults won't pick them. Holy crap, adults are not as smart as I have been told. And that was my impression of being 5-ish and seeing American TV and politics for the first time. So I was surprised by y'all. But we lost a lot of ground. And we've stayed losing ground in every possible way, despite the fact that energy independence is great for us. Energy independence and green energy is great for America. But there will always be a way to get us to shoot ourselves in our own foot and then stand up boldly and bloody in front of everybody going, I meant to do that because I can.
And I'll pay more for it.
That's right. You can't tell. Somebody said there's some Canadian petition demanding we do something about our guns. And somebody was like, well, what if we need to finish signing all this and get like 1 million signatures and send it to America. And I said, all you're going to do is have a bunch of conservatives take this petition and stand up there and now basically force everybody to carry an AK-47 just to go out to get a cup of coffee. because you said no more guns, so now it's more guns.
And what's worse about this is that blueprint of theirs about, hey, hit race. Hey, tell them we're going to take their guns. Hey, make fun of XYZ. They've published this. Like, our own government knows about this. And it's not hard for the citizens to find it. And in fact, like, the countries bordering Russia, like Finland and then they actually train their youth to not get so easily manipulated. And we let our people go to the slaughter.
Well, it works for some people to have power here, and
well, at least
that's it.
at least as Paul has mentioned, if we make it cheaper and easier to put green energy in place of the more expensive fossil fuel, people are going to do the right thing because it's cheaper. It's better in their pocketbook.
Yep.
And that, it may take longer to get there, but at least those effects will start being felt by everybody, and we can move to a more sustainable future. Even if for the wrong reason, we'll still get there.
Yeah, that's why I said don't wait for a movement. It's going to be individuals making these choices, and eventually we get to the right decision. We just have to try every other route. We are the dumbest rats in the maze. Wow. It just hit me. Sorry. But we are.
Well, thank you for that uplifting message, Georgia.
We'll do it. We'll do the right thing eventually.
We're all just stupid and we'll stumble into the right future, maybe.
No, I think we do. I mean, like Paul's story showed, eventually we do. We just kind of have to hit a lot of walls.
Yeah. And we're good at that. Well, let's do some shout outs and go home. I think we've had a tough night. It looks like Motoko's ready to do something
fight her dad soon.
other than watch her dad talk into a microphone. So I'm going to start with Kacey Green.
So you can catch us on Sundays on youtube.com at Kacey Green, 1:10 p.m. Eastern. And if you like this, it's similar, less structure, no time limits, and when we're done, we're done. And then we do it again another week.
Wait, did he just say this show doesn't have a structure? I mean,
my show doesn't have a structure now.
This show,
his show is freeform.
Your show is freeform.
Right.
His show is jazz.
Right.
I know.
Classical.
I'll own classical. Thank you. I'll take that. Paul, what's going on in your world? Besides, it's dark there, and look, I still have light.
It's sun gone down. Used car market's getting a little bit better selection wise. So we actually have a few Priuses on our lot finally. BoulderH.com if anybody in Colorado is looking for a used hybrid. Got an old Leaf as well. And we're still fixing lots of broken cars and servicing lots of cars. So if you have a hybrid or EV in Colorado, check us out. BoulderHC.com.
You and I have to talk because I'm getting pressure to update.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, I don't know how practical that is, but there we go. Mark Coughlin, what's going on in your blue world, sir?
Well, it's a weird color in here, but that's normal. So doesn't matter if the sun's up or down; it's always this color. But if you are still watching this point, please give us a thumbs up. Please press that subscribe if you haven't already. Helps us out, and we would really appreciate it. And to follow along through the week, if you're on the socials, just look up What Drives Us. Subscribe to that, and you can follow along with what we receive throughout the week. Keeps you up to date before the week of the show. With that, back to you, Russell.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that. Georgia McKenzie, as I like to say sometimes, please bring us home.
All right. You've been here 54 minutes, people. Go on ahead. Hit like. Hit subscribe. Remember, every time you hit like, even if you've already subscribed, it tells the algorithm, I like this show. And I think people who like what I like would like this show too. So why not recommend it to them? That's why we ask for it. So we hope you've learned something. We hope you piqued your interest in something. Don't forget to read things in the show notes and follow up with that. And when you're done, you want to hang out a little bit more? You want to enjoy some live, wild, freeform jazz discussion over on Kacey's channel? Go on ahead. Hit up Kacey Green over at YouTube. youtube.com, or you can hang out with him on the Twitter socials at GC Custom. Then Mark's got all your Tesla life stuff. He's covering all things Tesla, from the financials right down to the latest rumors and models. Head on over to the Tesla Life, hit like, hit subscribe because you want more information. And if you just so happen to be in Boulder, Colorado and want a battery, maybe, but really if you want a car, or if you want your car repaired, you know who to talk to. You want to go to Paul. You want to see Boulder hybrids. He's there for you. And you know he's a trustworthy voice right there in Boulder. Thank you for hanging out with us. And don't forget to join us next week, because we have no idea what the hell we'll be talking about, but we're sure to be talking about something. Back to you, Russell.
That's a bold and thank you, David Watts. That's a bold prediction. We'll be talking about something. One more reminder: tomorrow afternoon, live with Ed Niedermeyer, and I probably won't be monitoring the chat.
It's probably BS Insanity. What's the subject?
You know what the subject is? Anything Ed and I decide to talk about for 90 minutes. You want to talk about Freeform, baby? It's going to be just.
And what time does it start, Russell?
3:30 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow afternoon. And of course, listen, it's 2023. Who watches broadcast when it happens? Nobody. Well, except for JT and David and June and a few other wonderful folks in our chat room normally, but you can stream it anytime you want at youtube.com/whatdrivesus.
But you can type in the chat if it's live. You can't do that after the fact. That's the comment.
That is true.
That's
is true.
right.
You just have to send me your offensive comments. You can't put them in the chat. Also, if you may have noticed down here below, What Drives Us 492, we are coming up on show 500, and we're going to do something fun for show 500. I don't know what, and it may, we're 6, 7, 8 weeks away, depending on how the shows stack up between now and then. But maybe put that on your calendar for, what is that, June?
500. Okay.
Show 500.
What?
It's kind of crazy. I still don't understand that. As always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for his amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy a song, buy an album, buy something. I want to thank Georgia McKenzie, Paul Guzik, Kacey Green, and Mark Coughlin, as well as everybody in the chat room, and all of you for being there. You folks are the reason we do the show. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. Thank you, Kacey Green.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.